This is episode 254 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast.
Here's how infinite banking works in under 60 seconds. You have to save your money somewhere. Well, we think the best place to save it is inside a cash value life insurance policy. You save some money in there, it grows tax-free for the rest of your life. Then an opportunity or emergency comes along. Let's say a few years down the road, you can buy a business, buy a property, buy an income-producing asset. You leverage the infinite banking policy, borrow against your asset, take advantage of the opportunity. But your money still stays in the infinite banking policy. You're not borrowing your money, you're borrowing the insurance company's money. So your money's in the policy, it's in the opportunity, and it's providing a death benefit. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You get to retirement, you have this massive cash value life insurance, leverage that tax-free, and you don't repay those loans. You sit on the beach and you spend that money tax-free every month. Doesn't show up on a tax return, and you leave your family a huge tax-free death benefit.
Welcome back to the show. Today I have Monika Jazyk on the show, and Monika and I dove specifically into real estate investing in Ontario. Monika does a ton of stuff. She's invested across the US and Canada, very well-established real estate investor and educator. And what I really just wanted to pick her brain about is she said she's doing stuff in Ontario, and I'm curious, what are you doing that's cash flowing? We went through a couple of examples and how she's able to use midterm rentals to make her Ontario rental projects, properties in Markham, Ontario. And then she's also got some students that are doing stuff in like Oakville and places like that. And they're getting abundant cash flow, like several $1,000s a month without doing short-term Airbnb rentals, because let's face it, Airbnb is hard work. Being an Airbnb host is not for the faint of heart. It's a full-on hospitality business. So if you can sidestep that, I mean, I find that interesting. I was super fascinated to talk about it, and I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. Quick reminder about REI Hot Seat. That's the sister channel to this one on YouTube. And we talk about deal analysis constantly. So it's short form, video only content. And Jacob Campanero and I are often talking about different commercial opportunities, multifamily opportunities that we see in the marketplace, and a lot of an Ontario focus on that show. So highly recommend that for those interested in diving more into the commercial multifamily world. Now that that's been said, if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Just help this show get out there. Without further ado, let's jump into episode 254. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Monika Jazyk. Is that right?
That's right.
On the show. Came all the way from Markham, so getting dangerously close to the East End, as we've said, which that's like a no-go for pretty much, well, me. And,
but us East Enders and West Enders can get along, right?
They get along.
Yeah.
I did drive out there for Cody Ye's podcast. Somehow he twisted my arm, and I ended up out there. But anyway, so if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about yourself, what got you into real estate investing, and then what brought you here.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So I am a full-time real estate investor and a wealth builder. And my husband and I own and operate RPI Education, which is like an investment community helping people invest in real estate to basically solve the three biggest money problems that we see in society today. And those are lack of retirement, not making enough money every month, and also helping kids out. So first and foremost, we're parents of 4 wonderful yet expensive children.
Yeah.
And that's really what got us into real estate investing to begin with. So we've done this full time for over 14 years now. And our oldest is going to be, I can't believe it, 20 this April. So
congrats.
I know it's crazy when they actually grow up. So they're kind of all over the place in ages. We have 20, 17, almost 18, and then 13 and 11.
Okay.
So we're all over the place in ages. But after having our son, I was finishing my master's in teaching. My husband's Australian. We were living in Australia. I decided I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom first and foremost. I'll always work and, do other things like part-time. But it was really, really important for me after finishing this 12-week teaching practicum. It was a very, very intensive program. I was a young mom, newly married with a small baby under a year old. And I was only in my early 20s. But I realized at that point, I don't want to sell myself short in all these areas of life. That's when I really kind of identified time, money, freedom as what I really stand for. And, that you'll hear me saying that a lot, throughout the podcast today, because I continuously remind myself really of what I stand for, which is that time, money, freedom. And during that time, it was just that freedom to be at home with our kids, to have the time during those precious years and just not have the burnout that I experienced during that time. And I think that's what so many people experience in society today.
For sure.
When we came back to Toronto and we did a global move in the midst of all this as a stay-at-home mom, and I was expecting number 2 at this time. I really was serious about my role as being a stay-at-home mom, and I took finances, put them to the forefront. Vaughn was working, he was making great money, and I was in charge of all the money, and we were just doing everything traditionally for years and years. And when 2008 came and all of our savings just went up like a puff of smoke for all these different vehicles that we were saving for our kids. We could help provide for their schooling, so we were already homeowners. We bought our first home, but, we wanted to save more money and we just were experiencing all these money troubles that so many people are experiencing today, doing things the traditional way. We just knew it was time to do something different.
When you say traditional way, you mean get a good job and then eventually retire on a pension?
Work hard, go to school, study hard, trade time for money, pay a lot in taxes. That was a huge hit. Vaughn was making a lot of money. The more he worked, the more he was taxed, the less we'd make. Saving in just traditional bank products that you really just don't understand, and no one's really there to guide you. Like, the only question that we were really asked was, what's your risk tolerance, low, medium, or high? And after that, we were just, left on our own. And so when 2008 came, I always joke and said...
So you were in all that stuff, just bank investments?
Yeah.
Yeah, the mutual fund where the manager makes more than the investor.
Well, I guess the manager who set us up was just your typical financial planner. I was literally cold called. They show up at your door, they set you all up, and then you never hear from them again.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just one of those things. And I was following Susie Orman and the Wealthy Barber and, all these sort of things, because that's all that we're really given in regards to financial information. And I didn't know, what to do. I was just trying to solve my money problems, doing things the traditional way.
Well, the traditional way, obviously the education system is set up to create people who will work within the system and trade time for money. The whole system relies on that. So they're never going to teach people how to just, do this, this, and this, and then you don't even have to work.
Exactly. And as someone who actually has a master's of teaching, and it's funny because I never actually worked as a full-time teacher, but I am an A4 qualified teacher. It is amazing. So, and I am K-12 qualified with a lot of specializations. So it's I never really wanted to do that. I'd probably be more on the route to be principal or superintendent or something like that. But it never really was a system that I did really support. I always was more of a born entrepreneur, and I didn't even like school.
Yeah.
So I was actually just, we were in Australia, and I was traveling, and when I met Vaughn in Australia, then I decided I should just stay longer, just do more of a university degree here, just an extension of my existing degree, and it sort of kind of stumbled upon it. So it was sort of ironic that I ended up working in a school system, an institution I probably never really fully supported.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I look at it as absurd, but so many things are absurd today, so I just don't get too deep into that. But
well, the school system really primarily was designed to, and I have to remind my 13-year-old about this every single day, who asks, why do I have to go to school? It's a safe environment. And then I guess you could really kind of speculate on that, but really, I guess it was originally designed to keep kids out of the workforce. But then you'd have Robert Kiyosaki here saying, let's turn them into employees. Let's turn them out. And I really watched that now. I've seen one kid in university and then one that's gone through high school. That's the beauty of having 4 kids at various ages, 8 years. You can kind of see the finished product and kind of learn what to expect. So
they teach them how to blend into today's society, our quote unquote Canadian norms, right?
Whatever those are.
Well, obviously you don't want them. There's a reason they don't teach deductive reasoning and logical fallacies in school. If they did, holy crap, they wouldn't be able to manipulate us through the media and through, kind of programming to kind of make us want to go get that job and save into that pension and, you know, be good little citizens. So I love breaking that mold and being an investor and taking these alternative routes help us to do that. You know, break the mold, understand how the system is set up, and then go not against the grain, but, you know, try and find a way to work in the loopholes and what's available to you to get ahead. Now, elephant in the room today is that, and I say this all the time, so I apologize if this is getting old to anybody, but real estate's not sexy like it was.
No.
People are not nearly as excited about it in general. Doesn't mean the serious ones aren't still around. They definitely are. But a lot of the people who are on the outside looking in very enthusiastically because they knew their uncle and their aunt had bought a pre-construction condo and made $300,000, they're not as keen because now that aunt and uncle are trying to assign the contract and not sure how they're going to close. So
the aunt and uncle should have joined RPI Education.
Maybe that was the solution. So tell me a little bit about how the approach has changed in your eyes, what your bread and butter investment is, what you see people doing and working right now.
Oh, I love that question. Real estate is the number one wealth builder, and it's as old as the hills. Okay, I remember one time at my aunt's funeral, I found this old picture. We were going through these photos. Found this picture of the first house my dad ever lived in that my grandmother ended up somehow buying. I guess my uncle helped her because they had to immigrate from Lithuania after being in a displaced persons camp for years in Germany. And it was so funny. It was on Waverly Crescent in East York, and it was $14,000. Cool. And guess what was said on the back of this picture? Vendor take back.
Nice.
And I just laugh because I'm like, and then also my aunt, like my dad laughed and I'm like, oh, was it just you and your brother and sister? He's like, we had 14 people living in this house. My mom was the cook. So basically my grandmother was a creative financing house hacker. Nice. And this is the way really like Canada was built. A lot of these people have been doing these strategies, and people love to, you know, say real estate is great and then it's not great. And, you know, there's these new strategies and new ways to do it. There's very rarely new concepts in regards to real estate investing. And it always has been the number one wealth builder. This is what helped people transform their lives and built jobs when they didn't have pensions. And they came from different countries and they had to build their own wealth. You know, they didn't have anyone really. They might have had other jobs or someone writing somewhat of a paycheck. But a lot of the new immigrants who came here to Canada years and years ago, like I'm talking in the 1940s, I mean, they had no choice but to use this as a jumping off point for this kind of wealth creation. It wasn't about for the wealthy. This is how people were literally surviving. I was driving in Scarborough on Sunday, dropping my daughter off at Activate for a birthday party. And she's like, look at those ugly homes. And she's pointing at the wartime bungalows that were all on the main street. And like, those homes are, you know, over $1 million. And she's like, well, what a ripoff. I'm like, no. These homes are actually really, you know, believe it or not, this is how society was built. These are the kind of homes that people started off in, and this is what people used to build wealth. So I never really pay attention to, you know, in regards to is real estate good or bad. Real estate is the number one wealth builder. It always has been. It always will be. It's up to the investor to make it a good opportunity.
I agree.
And, you know, so it's like real estate is neither here nor there. It's what is the investment, you know, specialist's capabilities of turning that into like a great deal.
So, I mean, what you're talking about is basically a level of sophistication needed to be had around a deal, which has always been a thing. That the issue and the thing that's different and why so many people jumped on the bandwagon is because you could be terrible at real estate investing and make money. You could do a terrible reno and the market would save you. And that was true from, I mean, really seriously true for most of like 2016 and onward. But I mean, in GTA, even longer than that, because things have been going up so long. In London, where I started, everything was stagnant. Nothing moved. It just stayed where it was, which I actually didn't mind. I mean, it makes for slow. You have to be more active. But, you know, as far as like, Flipping, if you had no market appreciation, you have to either be exceptionally good at doing renos on a very tight budget. You're either doing it yourself, which is not scalable, or you have a team which you've built, which could be scalable, or you're getting great deals on the buy or some combo of all of the above. And so the sophistication needs to be there, which is that right there, in my estimation, is why the market for people who want to do real estate investing has shrunk.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the level of time and analysis and diligence that would take is something a lot aren't willing to do.
It's true. And that's what we try to teach people. We say now is the perfect time to invest in real estate because a lot of people are on the sidelines. When everyone was buying during COVID, we were selling everything and refinancing assets, getting our money ready and prime for drops. And we always buy below fair market value. We make money when we buy.
Yeah. So are you big on off-market like offers and mailers and all that stuff?
No, I hate mailers.
Not mailers?
I think they're annoying. No. What we do is we create real estate models. Yeah. So I spend most of my days, my husband and I, figuring out what works in various markets. So we're all across Canada and the US, and we only focus on high growth markets. So I don't chase cheap properties. I don't look at areas that have flat economies. We're in we used to be in the tertiary markets more so. Well, we first started off in Northern Ontario, so that's what Real Estate Mistakes is all about. This is where I learned a lot of lessons, and I made a fortune there, but it took me years to get out of that market, and that's where we made $1 million of mistakes.
There's big cash flow in Northern Ontario, or there was. Yes. I mean, whether there still is, it's less so than it was.
Yes, well, there was, and there's also a lot of problems in Northern Ontario, and we went. From that point, we kind of rebuilt in the tertiary markets. When I say that, I would talk about, the Hamilton, the Barrie, Oshawa.
Hamilton's tertiary?
Kitchener. It was, because we've done this for over 14 years. We've been in Hamilton since we've been in Hamilton and all these markets for probably over 10 years. Okay. And so we were buying in Barrie when it was under $200,000.
Very cool.
Same with Hamilton, same with Oshawa. And all these areas, we did call them the tertiary markets. So we'd figure out these markets, and we were kind of innovators in the markets. A lot of people were investing there, but we were, relatively new to the market because people are primarily trying to do new build condos in Toronto. That was that was not our jam, we wanted more of these properties in these areas with substantial growth, and they were relatively less than the GTA or Toronto. Oh, yeah. But now you're right, fast forward now, those tertiary markets are not so tertiary. They are very, very expensive markets. And even when they started hitting the $400,000, $500,000 price point, we had to change our investment model. So what we do is, rather than leave areas and just continue to buy elsewhere and chase cheap properties, we figure out what model will work in this area. And we form teams of experts in each one of these areas. So we'll have real estate specialists, mortgage specialists, contractors, home inspectors, property managers. And then when people want to, we build out the model with the real estate agent. And then when people want to invest in that area, they know what the expected ROI is. They know what the exact strategy is. Yeah. They know they're pre-approved. They know how much capital they'll have to have. So now when the agents love to work with us, because we have agents on our team, we're sending them qualified buyers who are going to say yes. Yeah. So they don't have to have their properties hit the board.
So what markets in Ontario are you focused on right now?
Well, right now, I'm actually, believe it or not, focused on Markham. I'm buying in Markham, right in our own backyard. I think your own backyard is always the strongest. Toronto. Okay. And Calgary. We just came back from Calgary. Yeah. We've been in Calgary for 5 years, but we just got back from there because we ended up selling some stuff there. I was speaking out there recently, and we have a great group out there. And we're also developing homes in Florida. So I've been in the Florida market.
Same. I've been doing the same. While as Although I put a pause on that because the numbers kind of got eroded a bit as the market came down. But let's focus on Markham for a second. Tell me the story. What is your approach with Markham?
So our approach with Markham, we love Markham because it is a very, very, it's where we live, first of all. Yep. And it's a very, very up and coming, well, it's not up and coming, it's a ride.
It's been a major market for quite some time.
And it's never really going to not be, kind of like downtown Toronto. It's never really going to not be. And I think that's what people have to focus on now is with COVID, people are kind of investing everywhere and anywhere. And then all of a sudden, a lot of those areas were driven up falsely, and then they've dropped down because no one wants to live there anymore. You're never going to really get that with Calgary, with Markham, with
Your
downtown
mainstay
Toronto.
cities. Markham's sort of a bedroom for Toronto proper anyway, right? Like you can commute in for work. People do.
Yes, absolutely.
Same with Burlington, they do, and Hamilton even now.
Oh yeah. I like anything. Like even my favorite area is actually probably the Niagara Falls area if you're looking for the lower price point.
Sure.
Because it's such a great area. It's close to here. My son goes out to school out there, but it's just, it's still, people will do that drive.
Yeah, they'll be like, especially
city.
with the work from home thing, because they'll have to come in once a week or something. They'll drive in, for that one day.
Yeah.
And that's a long day, but then they don't have to do it for the rest of the week.
I do love that market. I love it. We were in Windsor for a while. We were in Windsor when it was under $100,000.
That's cool.
And, so we made a lot of money there. But then now it's like $600,000. So we told all our people, sell everything. People made a fortune during COVID in Windsor because people were overpaying for these properties.
For sure. Well, people were overpaying for almost everything, everywhere, because of the availability of money.
Yeah.
So in Markham, what kind of, are you buying houses, apartments?
Houses.
So do you ever do apartments in other cities?
I have a condo in downtown Toronto.
Okay.
And the reason I have that, it was off market. Okay. And I got this condo. It's right by out of St. Mike's Hospital. It's 680 square feet. It's like a real condo in an older established building. It's not like the ICE condos or whatever it is. And we got it for just over $400,000, believe it or not. And this was just last year.
Oh, wow.
And this value was $650,000. So there's an example of making money when you buy, bought it, immediately refinanced it. We pulled out, I think it was like 70, and hold it.
Nice.
And actually use that money to hold it. Because in real estate investing, no money down is great. We leverage whatever, but eventually you got to pay for something, people. Like we're so over the smokes and mirrors. So you take your refi and then you can actually use it to set aside on your HELOC and then use it to pay, your stuff. Because it's hard to get things cash flow positive.
100%.
Even in downtown Toronto, it's so like paradoxical really in regards to what people say. It's like, oh, there's no housing. But then to get tenants to pay what you need them to pay, they say the rents are so high, but our mortgages are even higher.
Yeah. So
it is tough to get things going. But I mean, when you acquire an asset with that much built-in equity, it's really that's what you need to do to operate in these A+ markets for sure.
In my opinion, it's just nowadays that's the way. You have to make money on the buy, or you make money on the buy in some other way with creative financing terms or something like that. There's a big value add for you on the buy.
Yes.
There has to be.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the Markham example.
Oh yeah, Markham. What we do there?
Give me a recent one you did. And
okay.
What was it? Why was it appealing? What'd you do?
So, in Markham, we do two things. So one, we'll buy for buy, rent, hold. So we bought an amazing duplex. It was already converted. It was actually a townhouse that was converted into two. It was a historic building. It was beautiful. It steps from Markham Main Street. And they had it listed for like $900,000. Okay. And as a joke, I put in an offer for $800,000. Because I was it was $915 originally. And I just put in $800 and they accepted it. And so I'm like, oh, I should have went lower. But still, it was just, once again, this is, example of getting something with the built-in equity. And then I knew that one unit was already renovated and it was very, very like upscale. And the upper unit was not, and there was a tenant there. So I got a vacant and renovated it. I think and I do have a great contractor. I do a lot of renos and a lot a lot of flips as well.
Yeah, so you get good pricing on that.
So I have a great contractor, put like maybe $5,000 into it.
Okay.
And then we're able to increase the value of that property to a $1.3 million
Just
property.
With how much renovation?
$5,000.
$5,000.
Oh wait, I forgot. And we also furnished it. Fully furnished it.
Yeah.
And that too, it's so funny because we did a lot of it on our own, like a lot of the Kijiji stuff, but it looks really, really good because I love things very, very upscale. You can go on Airbnb and see all the photos. We stay with the Main Street charm.
Okay.
And then did them as midterm executive rentals.
Midterm executive on Airbnb or not?
Well, we are on Airbnb for minimum 30 days, but I did do the first one on Kijiji, and that was really interesting because we were renting, each unit was rented out for over $3,500 a month.
Is that's
And-
your present rent? Like it's $3,500
Yeah.
a month consistently?
Well, actually, no.
Yeah.
The present rent now for the main and bottom unit is been rented out for $4,500 for the last
Together?
6 months. The top
Each.
unit now is rented out now for more the $3,500.
So you have 4,500 and 3,500 right now? Okay. So right now that place is bringing in $8,000.
Yeah.
An up-down duplex?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not normal for Markham.
No, it
and that's
wouldn't be.
not normal
it's
just because.
And this is like,
Yeah.
so you threw out a Kijiji ad, got somebody, and then you're on Airbnb as
Yeah.
well, and you're getting people that are booking for.
So we tried the short.
You tried
It's
just doing like 2-3 days.
horrible. Oh my gosh! Don't ever do this. It was like adventures of talk
That's
about
the only
hands-on
Airbnb you've done, like that short
landlording.
term.
Well,
Yeah, it's a full blown like business, like
Yeah.
to run that. Like it's crazy.
it was just not working. And when
Yeah.
I look at the financials and the amount of trouble that went back,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I like these short term, these midterm, like executive rentals. I think it just fits better with our life. Like the guy right
Yeah.
now, the people I've been in there for. The guy who's renting it right now and his wonderful family came in July and they're staying till February.
It's amazing.
And so it kind of attracts, like, that's why I really like the city areas. I like more kind of, homes that I can buy, make money when I buy in A+ areas,
Yeah.
get A+ assets. Because what our goal for our primary portfolio is a $20 million portfolio on 10 properties. And if
Okay.
I don't see a property being able to turn in the next 7 to 10 years to a $2 million property, I don't want it.
So you just want to keep number of doors down.
Yeah.
So
I
you-
want a less is more.
Yeah.
I've been in the 100 property club. Having 100 properties is like having 100 kids.
Yeah.
At this point, I think if you have 100 properties, you should be operating or managing a fund.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of
You
that.
have to run it like a serious business. Yeah.
It should be more like a fund management, sort of
Yeah.
structure. Otherwise, I think your portfolio starts to manage you, and that's like in that book, Real Estate Mistakes. We talk a lot about that. How our portfolio really ran away from us from doing too much too soon. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I was nowhere near my kids for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And and I had little babies. Like I was even
Yeah.
having our daughter during these adventures. So I think that's why
That's
I really
tough.
kind of like the Markham. You could see where you could get it if you could buy
yeah.
it right, get the right
Well, you obviously
market.
know your market well. You're there. You see
Yes.
it. You see it with your own eyes. What did you guys put into that to furnish it? Like, how much money do you figure you spent between your team and all the assets you bought for furniture?
For the furniture, it was like $5,000.
That's it. Like
Yes.
you were all in for $5,000 to furnish that place.
Yes.
How the heck do you do for $5,000?
Okay, so a lot of it was, remember, this was like more of an 18th century kind of like place.
So
So
antique
a lot
finds.
of it was just, like someone was giving us beautiful armoire away. And,
Yeah.
so a lot of those things, a lot of Kijiji, but we did mix
Yeah.
up brand new mattresses, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not really that hard. Now, we did end up doing it. We've done this a lot of times now. We ended up getting another property in Markham that we were supposed to flip. Okay. And so this property also is just located just down the street from the other property. So prime area. And this property was a dump. It's a semi-detached property. And it was just awful, like mold, and it was a state, whatever. But once again, we got it, and we lowballed. We had to really fight for this property. And we ended up getting this property for, I think it was around $771,000. And you have to realize in Markham, the average house is just like your average townhouse. So you can't really get
Yeah.
anything for under $1 million.
So, and what you're talking about is a detached. The one we're talking about is this example.
It's a semi. It was a semi.
The one that
Yeah.
you got $8,000 a month in rent on.
No, that is actually a townhouse.
That's a townhouse.
That's
it
a
is?
townhouse converted into 2. Freehold town.
Okay, freehold
Yeah.
town. Let's just stick with
Yeah.
that example for a moment here because I want to get an idea of the numbers. Like, do you know approximately what you'd be into for annual property taxes on that property?
Yes. So the property taxes on there are not much because Markham pays the lowest in taxes.
Oh, cool.
Which is another good thing. So it's around $2,000 a year.
$2,000. Okay, that's low. And then insurance-wise, you'd probably be like what, $2,500?
I have to pay a little more for insurance because I disclosed that it is shorter term, especially when it was short term. It's
Yeah.
very important to do that.
Oh, for sure.
And so that is around 200, and I think it's $220 a month.
Okay, 220 times 12. Yeah, so 26. That's not even bad. And then maintenance, I just have 5% in here.
That's 5% maintenance, vacancy.
And then utilities, yeah, I guess you should throw in a vacancy here. What do you figure you are?
3%.
3%. Okay. And utilities, like you're paying all three and internet, right?
Yep. And we get the internet because then they have like their Roku TV, which gives them all the channels and stuff. So
you're probably what, like $350 a month
for the utilities?
For including internet?
Hydro's really expensive.
Yeah, it is. And then gas. So gas.
Yeah. So
better than propane, I'll tell you that. But,
let me tell you about propane. I have that at that other place.
I have propane at my place.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I'm just gonna add that. Hi friends, I just wanted to take a moment away from the episode to tell you about my brand new structured coaching program. This is the first time I've ever offered a structured coaching program where we'll have regular meetings in addition to an intro call to go through what your goals are and help you get on a plan to achieve those goals within real estate. So if you've followed me for some time and you feel that I would be a fit for you to help you achieve your goals in real estate based on my skill set, based on the topics we cover on this show, I encourage you to head over to my website, andrew-hines.com/coaching, and fill out the questionnaire so that we can schedule a call and figure out if it's a fit for us to work together. Let's face it, most people could benefit from a second set of eyes and ears going over their strategies, different deals that they're looking at, and helping to springboard ideas back and forth. This is a program that's exactly for that. So if you're looking to build confidence in what you're doing in real estate investing and get very clear on what it is you're trying to accomplish, this might just be the program for you. Take a moment, fill out that questionnaire, and let's schedule a chat. Okay, so I put in utilities and internet, $4,200 a year. Does that sound a little low?
Yeah, that sounds around.
That sounds about right? Yeah, let's just throw that in there for now. We can tweak it if we need. Do you pay any management, or
no?
You have an internal team that manages?
No,
or
you just take
care of it?
There's not much to do. I like to keep an eye on our own properties because I had a lot of problems with property managers from distance properties before.
Landscaping, snow removal.
You know what? There's no front yard.
Yeah.
So my husband, we live just down the street. So we have a shovel out there, but literally there's like one step. We'll have the shovel salt.
So the tenants just take care of it.
And then we have the backyard has little lawn, and my husband would just go over there and cut the grass. And the tenants actually said, I would like to cut the grass, and started taking photos of them. And I'm like, you don't have to do this.
Right.
And if you ever change your mind, or do you need us to provide you with, what do you need? Because in Ontario, it's our job to shovel the snow and cut their grass. And so, but this is the kind of tenants we're attracting. They're just a Markham family who's renovating their house.
That's great. You know what? I like the idea because you almost avoid some of the landlord-tenant issues if you know that these tenants have a reason to leave.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing Sarah Larby talk about this early on. She did not want people who answered they're looking for their forever home. That eliminates them from consideration. Because you want them to turn over. Oh, well, we just need a place temporarily. Perfect.
Yes.
Music to my ears.
I don't want anyone. I'm actually terrified of tenants. I was just at the Ontario Landlord Watch Conference. I saw Sarah there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just we were sponsoring that event because we work closely with Kayla Andrade.
Okay.
And, it's because I love what she does for landlords in Ontario. And our rights are so minimal that I'm terrified of tenants in that regards. That's why I don't. And when we started out in Northern Ontario, we were all about working class tenants. That was our avatar. And now I'm like, I'm after the Henrys. I'm after the high earners, not rich yet. Temporary housing, just want to come in. You have to give them a premium product, but that's what I'm about now. Is offering a premium product for a premium price. Only certain people can afford to pay the prices we're
and that's okay.
asking.
That's the exact model I took with the student rentals. I wanted the ones that had the wealthier parents that wanted to pay for nicer.
Yes.
You got to know who you're going after, and generally speaking, you will almost always have a better time dealing with that tenant base over the lower income earners.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate that it's that way, but it is. Okay, so did you get an 80% mortgage on that?
I got a 70% mortgage on that.
And 25 year?
30.
30 year? Okay, and what approximate interest rate did you get?
5.35.
5.35. Not too bad compared to what some people are getting these days.
Well, we're stated income.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that was before even the hikes too. So people are freaking out about increased mortgage or interest rates. When you're stated income too.
Yeah.
Because we don't have jobs. We're full-time investors.
Yeah, but you can show income through companies or what have you. There's different ways to show that. So, I mean, I'm showing $3,300 a month in cash flow on that one. So that's a big one. That'll do. Don't often hear that in Ontario.
Yeah.
But I mean, the most crazy part of it is obviously the top line. The $8,000 a month is obviously very exceptionally rare.
Yeah.
Most people with that property are going to be getting, $5,000 max.
Yes.
You're getting $8,000.
They were getting before, the girl who was living in there was paying $1,400 a month for the upstairs.
Yeah, that's wild.
Because they were giving them $1,400 a month conditions. We were giving, at one point, before we even did the Airbnb thing, we were offering biweekly house cleaning.
Oh, okay.
We had to come in there and give them this luxury treatment.
So would you say that that's the typical type of deal you try and do?
Kind of, yes. So what I like to do...
How would the other one be different?
Okay, so the other ones are different. What we do is, one, we're trying to stay in our own backyard in high growth markets. Two, we try to solve the housing crisis. And three, we're trying to less is more strategy. And this is what we train other people to do as well. So our favorite type of project, and I know this is a pretty basic thing in this day and age in the real estate investing world, is the BRRRR. And it's the conversion of a single family unit, to add at least one or two more additional units.
Yeah.
You have the appreciation of the single family home, but you also allow for mortgage helpers. A lot of people in Markham live with their in-laws. Our housing is really expensive. So they have to, have their in-laws live with them, and they both go on the mortgage, or they have to tenant out the basement. We also work with balanced containers to add another suite. So we've been doing ADUs in the backyard as well, or over garage conversions. There's so many things you can do without compromising the actual structure, because I think the greatest appreciation always is that single family home.
The single family? So you're not pro on finishing a basement?
I love finishing a basement.
But that does change.
And then
the
converting that
single-family home.
to a unit as an in-law suite, or
okay, so you do like
for
that as an
a renter.
Okay. Yeah, I was just clarifying that. Then the rear yard unit, you like those?
I do.
They're just so expensive to put in.
If it's required, yes.
So expensive to put in.
The laneway homes. But when you're in a market like Toronto, and we're buying properties for under $1 million, and then we're converting this, and we've done this for over 5 years in the downtown Toronto market as well. So it's through various conditions, and the price point hasn't even fluctuated too much. Our Toronto specialist is a whiz at finding these.
So give me an example of the type of property you're looking for in Toronto. Is there a certain dimension? Is it detached? That's pretty rare to find in Toronto, unless you're...
Well, detached or semi.
Okay, detached or
semi. Already has an existing suite in the downstairs that probably needs, maybe to be legalized, or what is legal in Toronto is, or at least renovated, and then probably throw a third suite in the back. Because then if you're buying properties in Toronto under $1 million, and then you're refinancing, you're putting some money in, and then refinancing it at 1.6, 1.7 million, there's equity to be made there. It's just the margins have to be that big for real estate investing to work.
Well, yeah, it's just if I have a 2-unit, and then I don't know, depends on what you're doing. If you're adding a third, you're doing a reno, you're going to be spending at least $100,000 to $200,000.
Right.
Usually, I mean, some people can do things cheaper, but the average person, they're going to spend in that kind of ballpark.
So,
I guess it still
remember
justifies.
That property I told you about in Markham? The one that we flipped that we got for $771.
Yeah.
We wanted to turn that into, because originally even the appraisal came in the as is condition for almost $1 million, basically. Okay. And we wanted to just tidy up. It's a very small footprint of a semi-detached home. We wanted to turn that into a 1.3 million property and dollar property and flip it. Well, our contractor went in there and gutted the whole thing from top to bottom. And believe it or not, our reno budget for that was $60,000.
For a full gut?
Yeah.
How many square feet was it?
It is around 1,500 square feet.
You fully gutted and refinished a property for $60,000?
And that was the contractor that we work with. We've done a lot of these flip properties in
that's
Markham.
insane. Nobody does that. Was he paying you to work for you?
Exactly. Well, we give him a lot of business.
Yeah.
And we worked with him for probably 12, 13 years. He actually has followed us all over the place around. So we keep him very, very busy. And even with the Toronto repairs, like I think a lot of the thing too is when I guess they're doing things, a lot of them at cost, but we also know how to renovate on a budget as well. Like, so for that house, for example, we kept all the floors. We don't change the footprint. We'll knock down walls, not load bearing. We don't change the footprint of structures. And we have uniform changes. And all of our flips, if you ever look at anything we've done or all our projects, they're all documented. You'd see a lot of the time it just consists of, floor staining if we're not redoing it, knocking down one wall, it's not load bearing, opening it up with a nice breakfast bar and a kitchen, putting some, sorry?
There you would have stained the floors?
Yeah.
And when you say gutted, are you referring to like ripping the drywall off, ripping the insulation out, all the electrical gets gutted out?
No.
No, you still left all that?
No. So there were a little bit of electrical upgrades.
Okay, so you're more just talking like the kitchen, take the cabinets out and redo it.
Yeah, well, there was mold remediation. That was one thing.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought you were talking like back to the studs.
Not so much. So if we're back to the studs, you're probably looking for, in a sense, it's to the studs, but it's not to the studs, if you know what I'm saying. So no, we haven't ripped out.
You're talking back
it's
to the
not
drywall.
like starting with a shell.
Yeah.
It was just basically, but we will rip all the bathrooms out.
Yeah.
All
rip
the stuff
tubs out, the toilets, the vanities, and then replace them, redo the tiles if you need to, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew it would be like an easy project. And we actually did this project with partners, and I told them, okay, guys, like this isn't a flip market. We could try to flip this, but we got to be ready to, for a plan B. So another one of my rules of thumb is I will not buy anything in this market unless it already has a bathroom in the basement and a separate entrance. That's where renos get really expensive, is when you have to create separate entrances and you have to create bathrooms and kitchens. This had all that in there.
You need the kitchen there, or you just need the plumbing for the kitchen there?
You need the plumbing for the kitchen there, definitely. Yeah. And if it has some sort of existing thing, because then you got to look at your electrical, like even though with the specific type of volts to have the oven, where's the washer dryer, like these are the little things that people kind of forget about. They think, I could just create this brand new suite. So I'm not talking about creating things from a shell. I always create things that have the existing fundamentals, I guess you can say, in there to create that end product. This one flip that we did years and years ago, I think it must have been almost 5 years ago, it was a huge house, like 4,000 square feet in Markham, total space that I think we ended up putting 120 into that one.
Okay.
That was more. But I remember we had to make a choice not to put a bathroom in there because we went over, but we made sure we made that an option for the next person. That one didn't even have a second suite in it. It was just more of a flip that we got. But for this one, sure enough, what happened was the property was sitting while the market started dropping, interest rates went up. We're getting lowball offers on this property. And I knew that all we had to do with this property was put up one piece of drywall, and we've created a duplex. So we legit just take that separate entrance, used to walk right into the kitchen, put one piece of drywall there, and now they have a separate entrance, goes downstairs, just did a little kitchenette sort of thing in there, just ripped out all the old stuff, beautiful, huge bathroom, and has, a nice bedroom in there. And then the upstairs is 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms. So now we did the same thing, furnished that. And this, we did all brand new furnishings, and it was on Wayfair. And it was still $5,000. And that was for the 2 units again.
Okay.
So it takes some like bargain shopping. And I hear people come on, I know friends of mine in this industry, they spent $40,000-$50,000 on furnishing this with Airbnb. I hear all of these arbitrage people that do these
when
things.
I hear people say 50, I'm like, well, that sounds like too much. Like I've heard that, I've heard 5 to 10, it can be done, and that's kind of like the more frugal approach. If it's just an apartment, 5, you can do it. Like I hear the range, but if you're willing to go. And if you have a bit of a knack for it, searching marketplace, finding, good finds. Yeah. The thing I find a hassle with that is you got to send somebody to pick them up because I don't like running around. Like
Wayfair delivers to your door.
Wayfair can be cheap, yeah.
And then you know what else? I even was so worried, Andrew, about this property with a narrow stairwell. And I'm like, I don't need any stress in my life. So I don't need anything because already, you try to get the furniture, it doesn't fit, whatever. I don't need any stress. We need to get this done and rented. And what we're going to do is fully tenant this property, get a full year of financials, put it back on the market and show it as a fully furnished, to rental building. And what the income, now they can look at an income approach rather than just the thing. But I even got the mattresses at Wayfair.
Yeah.
Actually, did I do Wayfair National mattress? I think one was Wayfair and one was Natural. But I made sure they're rolled up and carried them right up there and just strung them out, nice queen pillow top.
Yeah.
Thick. Do not skimp out on mattresses. No one wants to sleep on a cheap mattress.
For sure.
But it was like those things. That's how easy it really can be. Because what is it really that you're furnishing? Like a couple dressers, a couple beds, mattresses, things. And I do love to shop. Like I would say I have a knack for it. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have a horrible looking house, especially in this house. That main unit is renting out also for like the $4,500 a month.
That's
and
great.
Then it's the same numbers
and
as
it's all the same,
bottom.
like Marketplace, Kijiji to find those tenants.
So I kind of am just doing the Airbnb, and I'm a bit worried now.
You're just doing Airbnb
about
for
the
longer term
Airbnb.
tenants. Yeah.
I'm getting a bit worried. There's a lot of talks of Airbnb. That I think that platform might be a bit in trouble. I think people tend to use Airbnb as a verb. Whereas really I'm referring to as the actual platform.
Yeah.
So we like the midterm, but I
Midterm,
mean,
yeah.
people are shutting, like the municipalities are now, saying they need to have licensing. They're really pushing back to solve this housing crisis. So you got to stay as creative.
Yeah.
But if we didn't have that plan B, we would be just having to sell this property for a flip at a loss, and that's not good. So you always have to have a plan B.
$771 plus your rental, you wouldn't get that back out of that?
Well, maybe you would just...
But it wouldn't be pretty. Okay.
Get it back out of that. But why?
I like
but you know
that
what?
you've got
Why
the
would I
alternatives.
settle for that? Like I'm a full-time investor.
Sure.
And, when we go into these projects together, and some we do for self, some we do with others, we always kind of... I want our clients to make money. And the market goes in ebbs and flows. So if you don't have a plan A, B, C, sometimes D, E, and F,
Sure.
you got to kind of know who you're working with too, so you don't get with excitable people. Like, oh my God, like my flip doesn't sell. Well, yeah, that happens a lot in investing.
Yeah.
What can you do to really get
That's where
that
your
high
plan B's
return?
got to be good, right? Like you might want to go in and flip, and I think that's what you said you wanted to here. But you have that plan. Like we can just do midterm rentals, and we have precedent to do these values, so we know we're good there. That's the kind of investing I like, where
Yes.
you have a pretty rock solid plan A and B, or if your A is maybe questionable, B's rock solid, and maybe you can even come up with a plan C. Your plan C would be sell it at a break even, and hey, you learned something, or
Yes.
at least you didn't lose. It depends on what you're okay with, and that's why you got to be okay with that plan A, B, and C. Am I okay with any one of those outcomes?
Absolutely. And I think that's what differentiates people who are just like, I'm just going to buy and sell a house, like novice
They don't
investor.
think through it.
And that's why, in that Real Estate Wins, we talk about our systems.
Yeah.
So when we
sure.
almost made when we made $1 million of mistakes, not almost, and we had to stop and regroup, we formulated on very specific systems that really kind of account for what can go wrong and really kind of take a lot of these margins of error out of the equation, because the real estate is the only investment that you could actually put a number to any possible problem and really almost plan for your problems. Oh, I'm
Sure.
scared of tenants. Well, have a year and a half worth of vacancy,
Sure.
set aside, because that's how long they can be
It's
out.
funny that money, cash flow coming in just like cures most worries. Like pretty much any worry you can name, just like a lot more cash flow just pretty much cures that. Oh, but I'm worried about dealing with tenants. Well, what are the odds you get one? It's 1 in 20 that's going to maybe not pay rent for a year. Probably even 1 in like more than that. But if you have the cash flow to cover that off, you're like, okay,
Yes.
I'm set. Like I know based on the numbers, I'm set. Like something extremely abnormal would have to happen for me to have a problem there.
And that's what we try to help people do, is set themselves up financially. Figure out what is it you want to achieve, what strategy best matches with you to achieve this goal, and then how can you sit nice and hold this investment? Because for these investments, like I say, in Toronto, in Markham, in these areas, like a lot of our West Sender clients are investing in Oakville. They're doing this in Oakville. They're doing this
what you
in
just
Burlington.
described.
Yep.
That simple, like typical methodology. Like
Yes.
multiple units. They're trying to get more than one unit.
Yeah.
Whether they got to add it through a reno and then do a lot of these midterm
But
rentals.
in great areas. In great areas.
Midterm rentals in great
Yes.
areas.
And like just a single family home conversion. I know the strategy's been done several times, but not in dodgy areas, still in the great areas, because you need those supporting properties.
So you think in Oakville, I feel like midterm would do great because people love Oakville.
People don't all want 12-month leases.
Yeah. So
And Oakville's very high end.
well, and
Oakville's
and
like Markham, like the
big
west version of Markham.
Like, you're going to get better people applying, so you're going to have your pick. You're going to see the incomes, and they're going to have a reason to leave because they're paying way above market rent for the furnished rental. They're probably going to want to go buy their own furniture eventually. I kind of like that. I like seeing that there's another thing that's working. A lot of people look at short term. Short term is a absurd amount of work. It is. Like, it is.
I said, I have to get out of this short term.
But everybody and their dog wants it. It's very popular at this point.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, my husband's going to divorce me if I keep making him do these short-term rentals, because it was just so many stories, and my poor husband having to deal with the short-term people, and the neighbors did not like it either, and they called the city on us for the ones in the townhome, and I'm very grateful for that, because that made me change to 30 days.
No, that's great. We have a resort and a cottage resort up in Tobermory, and probably between the two, we probably have like 500 to 800 guests come through in a summer.
Oh wow,
that's a lot of people. So it's it's an intense thing that requires an entire system. We get up to like 10 employees at our height.
Right.
Plus subcontractors and VAs and it's an organization.
Well, that's a business. And like, so one of my clients came to me, and she's unfortunately one of the clients that has like shiny penny syndrome. Usually we try to like take the shiny penny syndrome out and get you laser focused on your goal, your why, and what you want to achieve. But then people go listen to all sorts of different information, and they want to do this and that and the other thing, and all of a sudden she decides she wants to buy a lodge in Nipissing, on Lake Nipissing, for like $4 million. And so I'm like, you don't need to buy are you going to live in this lodge? What are you going to do in this lodge? How are you going to manage? You're not buying a lodge at this point. This is a business. So this is an example of real estate with business. One of our berry specialists, Colby Marshall, he actually owned a lodge on Lake of Bays, which is incredible. And we went there. We were there for the opening day. We vacationed there, whatever. And he's like, I'm like, be careful, Colby. You're gonna, you're getting yourself a job here, whatever. And he was just like, I want out of this investment after a while. They made great money and did it. So it's really important to see things for what they actually are. Like, if you want to be in a real estate investor and you believe in this, like Tobermory is absolutely beautiful. I want to go there. I've seen it's like tropical islands or something. Yeah,
it looks like it could be something in Greece or something. The grotto is pretty cool.
I need to get out of Muskoka and just go to Tobermory. That's
Tobermory's
as far
really
as I
cool.
get.
It's a far easier to access place to stay than Muskoka. From a price point, accessibility. I mean, at least you don't have the traffic, but it's far.
Yes.
Yeah. No traffic though. You can just
go.
Cruise.
Well, we should go. I'm gonna come to your resort this summer.
Check it out.
I hope you have rooms for all of us, or cabins.
We do glamping.
Oh, I love
the one's
glamping.
Tents, trailers. It's really cool. GrottoGetaway.com if you want to check out that. And then we also have our cottage resort, which is cottages on the water, small cabins. Yeah. Yes.
No, I absolutely. That's all we do in the summer. Is we are like in nature. We spend the majority of it up north in the Muskokas. There's another lake we go to, and outside of Ottawa and Calabogie. But absolutely love it, and I absolutely love glamping, because when Vaughn and I lived in Australia, that's what we used to do. Is we used to go glamping because I wouldn't camp. And we were in the middle of nowhere. We went to Equestria Wilderness. It's 24 million acre wilderness park. Oh, wow. Like, that's how much land there is out there. But we went to some great spots. Cool. So definitely come check that out.
Yeah, the glamping thing's a cool concept because, not everybody wants to pull out a sleeping bag, So to have a queen bed, nice soft mattress.
Oh, yeah. It was like a full-size hotel room with
inside
the tent over it, and then an indoor bathroom. Like, I remember the bathroom had wallpaper.
Oh, that's cool.
It was incredible, but
yeah, that's next level. We haven't gone to that level. We do have like nice bathrooms, but they're not in the tents.
Well, when this client was talking about that, I was explaining to her, even just knowing the numbers right away, I think it's really important people understand their numbers and, their NOI calculations of whether this is going to work or not.
Yeah.
And she's trying to make this bad deal into a great deal. You can't force things to work in real estate investing. And it really is about looking for those diamonds in the rough. And it's just knowing what you're looking for and what everything else, like even just by listening to it in 30 seconds, I'm like, you need this property for $1.2 million less.
Yeah.
And they're not going to sell that because some other bozo is going to come along and buy that.
Sure.
Like you have to know what you're doing things for. And I think it could be great if you have that income approach that's partnered with your real estate. Now you're looking at a totally different analysis.
Yeah.
You're looking at, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do in regards to that, even that flip, as soon as we get it all tenanted, relisted, and people can start looking at a different type of approach.
You could sell that to professionals. Like you have these professionals who just don't have time to go out and source their own deals. Like you bring them a turnkey cash flowing asset. I mean, there are organizations I'm not going to name here that literally they cater to exactly that type. So that's definitely something doable. So would you say, generally speaking, midterm does about like what 1.5 to 2 times regular rental on these units for you? Well, if you're doing them up to
I think the rent feels pretty low. Like I don't know where all these high rents. People say, oh, rents are so high, and then you go out there and it feels like, or there's such a demand for housing, but it feels like, people are still relatively looking for bargains.
Sure. Yeah,
in these things.
Understandably. I get it.
You kind of need those platforms to be pushing and doing it out there for you. That's why I like that Airbnb.
Is there anything you wish that I'd asked you that I haven't? Because we've flown through the better part of an hour here.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I guess just more about, if we could talk quickly about the real estate wins. We're super excited that our book is finally out. And released as of last week. And it's a follow-up to our book, Real Estate Mistakes.
Nice.
And this just really kind of outlines the systems that we promote at RPI, really that less is more strategy, and really trying to fill the wealth gap that's experienced in society today, trying to get every Canadian to have real estate in their portfolio, because it really does not. It doesn't require a lot. You could do the less is more approach.
You didn't need to teach people or tell people to want real estate like 2 years ago.
No.
But now it's like, now your mission's back on. Like teach them, hey, it's still very much a viable strategy, but you got to do it right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool.
Without the systems in place, I think, mistakes definitely will happen. And that's what we try to support people and really kind of just share our systems, our teams with people and show them how they could do this. Because my favorite saying is, not everyone has to be a full-time real estate investor, but everyone has to have real estate in their portfolio if they want to, 1, be able to retire, 2, help their kids out, and 3, make more money every month.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that's an awesome message. Okay, so people can buy that on Amazon?
Yes, on Amazon.
And if people want to learn more about you, where do we send them?
rpieducation.com.
rpieducation.com. Okay, we'll include that in the show notes. And then my final question for you is, what market are you really excited about right now? I know we talked about Markham and Toronto, sort of your strategy there. If you had to pick another spot that's just like ripe with opportunity, what are you seeing right now?
Well, I want to build another 100 homes in Florida.
In Florida?
Yeah.
And which market are you doing?
We're in the Ocala, Marion County region. So I don't do Disney, I don't do beach, I'm not vacation. It's a high growth market. They recently built, I think it was about $18 million square feet of warehouse infrastructure on spec, filled by employers like Chewy and Amazon. Population growth is 300,000, 30,000
Which region
jobs.
of Florida would this be in? What would it be
Central.
near?
It's a little more
Central,
north central.
like south of Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like an hour and a half from Orlando, an hour and a half from Fort Myers, an hour and a half from Sarasota. So it's a distribution hub.
So right dead center.
Yeah.
Okay.
just a really, we're kind of very low on the market. Yeah.
But I like the idea of Central Florida, like outside of Orlando, because that's just so Disney driven.
Yes.
But just being in those other areas, that could be industry driven. Which
yes. Well, that's all we look at. We don't get emotional with our investments. Like in real estate mistakes, we're so emotional with our investments. It made us make a lot of mistakes. We really, a lot of people say, oh, I want to like buy in Florida so I can live there one day. Well, why don't you just
pay for an Airbnb,
pay for whatever, another investment, and use that to live there, or figure that out then.
It is nice, like, and I get it. Like, I know people who have the Florida place and they use it, but then they also rent it out, and it works for them. They cash flow too.
Yeah.
But it's obviously nice to be able to just let that make the money.
You know what? If you've solved those 3 money problems, if you have enough to retire.
Yeah.
Like a multi-million-dollar retirement. And I show people how one property can give you a multi-million-dollar retirement just based on natural appreciation alone. $350,000 property appreciates 5% a year for 20 years. That's $1.25 million.
Yeah.
Have 2, it's 2 enough. That's so easy. Everyone could do that. That's achievable. As long as they can do that, as long as they have enough income coming in, it's not just their job, because a true indication of wealth is how much money do you make when you sleep. Yeah. And as long as they kind of are able to help that little legacy out a bit, if they have families or they want to help their kids out a bit because kids are so expensive, do whatever the heck you want. Buy cottages, buy vacation properties, buy the Bugattis, buy everything you want. And that's where we want to get people is, let's just solve these kind of things, get your own financial house in order. Yeah. And then after that, there is no right or wrong. As long as you're set up, do whatever the heck you want, and money is meant to be enjoyed.
Agree. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much for making the trip over here from, I guess, North Toronto. I know it's a long way, and I know you got to drive back. So
well, thank you for having me, and I would come anytime. Driving all the way to Burlington, I think it's actually a great city, and thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, until next time.
Infinite banking in under 60 seconds. We've all got to save our money somewhere, and we think that a high cash value life insurance policy is the perfect place to save it. Why? We're going to save our money inside this policy, and it's going to grow tax-free. Down the road, we're going to get hit with an emergency or an opportunity, maybe a chance to buy a business, real estate property, an income-producing asset, and instead of withdrawing from our savings account, we're going to leverage that asset. We're going to borrow the insurance company's money, and we're going to invest in that opportunity. Our money is still inside of that policy, compounding, uninterrupted, tax-free, and our money's outside in this investment opportunity. We're going to rinse and repeat, all while providing a death benefit for our families. Down the road, we're going to retire. Now we retire with a high cash value life insurance policy with a lot of cash. We're going to start taking those policy loans again, but this time we're never going to pay them back. When I say never, I mean we're going to pay them back with the death benefit when we die, and our families are going to get left with the rest completely tax-free.